Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and professor, and if any classmates are going to see this. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you guys about some incentives that I would like to bring to our organization, some things that would help us to raise morale within the organization. Also, it would set us apart from other companies as we compete and as we recruit to bring in the best talent that we want to bring in order to further our company and to further compete in this industry. It's going to be very important that we have the most talented, the most gifted folks on our team. And so we need to continue to look for ways in order to make sure that our company is one of the top companies that these talented people want to come work for. Now, of course, these ideas do not come without risk. If I could quote careersinaudit.com, they say risk management is important in an organization because without it, a firm cannot possibly define its objectives for the future. If a company defines objectives without first taking the risk into consideration, chances are they will lose directions once any of these risks make it home. So we want to make sure that even throughout my research, I wanted to make sure that I looked at the risks that we will be taking so that we can make calculated and educated decisions on which way we want it to go. So without any further ado, I want to start by mentioning my first initiative, which is flex scheduling. Basically, what flex scheduling is and what flex scheduling does is it gives our employees options. For example, if you have Sarah, whose son has a piano recital on Friday at 4 p.m., all right? And she needs to leave work by 2 to get home, get the kid ready, get up there on time. Sarah doesn't get off till 5. But what Sarah can do, though, is Sarah can work extra hours during the week in order to get up to her 40 hours before 5 p.m. on Friday. This gives Sarah the opportunity to still do her duties and to still make her 40 hours without having to utilize her well-earned leave or time off or sick time in order to just enjoy some time with her child. Flex scheduling is also beneficial to the company because number one, it helps us to build a trusting relationships with our employees. And also as well, it also reduces the amount of time an employee has to take away from the office. Now, of course, it would have to be managed through middle management, and this couldn't be anything like a free-for-all that our employees would be able to do. But we also we do want to make sure that they have the ability and the option to utilize this. Now, some risks that we have to look at and we have to understand is that flex scheduling won't work in all of our departments. For example, in our customer service area, we can't have customer service operators or folks at the front desk just packing up and leaving at 2 o'clock if they want to when they need to be available to answer phones. So this wouldn't work for every section, and it could cause some heartache when you work for one section and they have incentives that another section does not have. But we can alleviate that by making sure that we take care of our customer service folks in different ways and come up with alternative ways to square them away, or even making sure their management, if someone is taken off a little early because they met their time frame or they met their hours, there's always somebody going to be there to cover that time. So flex scheduling wouldn't be like an automatic thing. It would have to definitely be approved. So it's very important that management is made aware when somebody wants to exercise flex scheduling. Also, it will be important for us as a company, as an organization, to educate our employees on the consequences of taking advantage of this benefit. The next one is telecommuting. Basically, commuting is an individual that has an opportunity to work from home. This also builds trust with our employees, and it also shows them that we trust them. And this is very important today. And this is very important in our line of work, that our employees understand that we trust them and we trust them to do the right thing. And if they fail or if they take advantage of that trust, then they'll be dealt with accordingly. But we trust them. And so I believe that telecommuting is good for our relationship with our employees. Also, it's going to save on travel costs and wear and tear on personal vehicles with our employees as well. Especially, again, if they can accomplish the same task at home that they're accomplishing at work, why not? Especially as long as we have things in place, letting them know we have to be able to get a hold of them. They have to answer their phone. They have to answer emails and things like that. Even though they are telecommuting, it should be as though they are right there at the office. Now, some things that we have to take into consideration are things like workers' comp claims. For example, we have an employee that is telecommuting. They're working at home and they slip and fall on their kitchen floor. They're on duty, but they're at home. Are we responsible for that claim? And that's something I did a little homework on. And I believe that that risk can be alleviated by certain third-party insurances. Also by having policy letters signed by our employees that they accept a certain level of risk by not working in our controlled environment, by making the decision to work outside of the workplace and to do their duties at home. Another thing to be concerned about is network security. We know that that's a huge thing nowadays, all right? But network security, that's one thing we can do. It's to alleviate that is by requiring our employees to utilize our, company provided equipment, workplace provided equipment, computers, laptops, tablets, things that are that we own, that our IT department will make sure has the correct software on it to protect our information. And so as long as they take care of their business on those machines and those pieces of technology, I believe that we can get around that. The last one that I wanted to talk to you guys about, this one is a little bit shaky. I'm not sure if this one would get through, but hey, I want to throw it out there and see what you think. And that's by paying our employees for production instead of an hourly rate. Production instead of an hourly rate. Ann Lazinski in 2017, she wrote an article on smallbiztrends.com explaining that this is really not a new idea. It was actually birthed during the Great Recession when companies couldn't afford to give their employees raises and things like that, but they would incentivize their employees by by compensating them for what they did versus the amount of time it took them to do it. Okay, of course, there's some risk involved with this. The risk include sabotage, jealousy. You may have one individual that may sabotage another individual's project, and because they want to get the recognition for the project being completed, thus them receiving the funds or the pay for making that project come to fruition. It's really hard for me to really justify this form of this incentive, but I do think it could work if we limit this incentive to our sales department. You see, in sales, they're already used to working on things like incentives and commission. So if we just limit this to our sales department and motivate them to make sales and utilize their sales as the incentive, so the more sales they get, the more they are compensated. Of course, they would have a base pay, but they can also be incentivized by working a little bit harder to get a little bit more over and beyond that. So those are my three ideas. Those are my three options that I want to present it to you guys: flex scheduling, telecommuting, and taking care of our employees by their production versus their hourly rate. I hope that you take everything into consideration, and thank you for your time.